Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. It is the Snowflake's Viewpoint, episode 84, guys, where we cover some of the latest news from the UK. The date and time for this live stream is the 30th of December, 2024 at 8 p.m. UK time, the last live stream on this channel for this year. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/Reganelite and on the twitch.tv/Reganelite1. Do consider subscribing to the channel and following on Twitch. We've got 6 different stories to cover here tonight. How are you all doing? I hope you're all doing well. Oh, my live chat's not up here on the bottom here. Billy Kershaw was here, and it looks like he's gone away for a bit. One Angry Pagan, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else who may be lurking in either chats. You're going to be 31 tomorrow. Oh, well, happy birthday. Born on the eve of a new year. Very interesting. Jao, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. So I just wanted to say couple of things before we get going. So first and foremost, there will be no Discord after chat tonight, and the reason why is because there will be a Discord after chat tomorrow night. I will be, as we're ushering in a brand new year, I'm going to be hanging about on the Discord tomorrow evening, either from 9 or 10 o'clock, something like that. I'll open up the voice chat. I'll ping the server. If anyone wants to come and hang out with me as we go into the new year, you're more than welcome to come and join me if you want to do so. As we usher in a new year, you can be in and out of the voice chat if you guys want to come and join. So do consider joining the Discord. It is a free community, free to join. Anyone can join. The link for it is in the description. So if you want to come and hang out, we can talk about politics, talk about news, talk about anything you want, or just celebrate the happy new year. More than welcome to join me. I've not got no plans tomorrow evening. So I will be hanging out on the Discord. So that's why there's been no Discord after chat tonight. Also, just another thing as well, I'm not doing a live stream tomorrow just because it's New Year's Eve. And the second reason is I have content to do. As you guys know, I have not put up content for Rumble or Patreon. I did not have time to do it today or yesterday. I am going to be doing this week. Obviously, YouTube content will be pretty normal in terms, with the exception of a live stream tomorrow. Most content should be fairly normal. I should be able to have premiere videos for next weekend for you guys as well. I say should, not guaranteed that it should. But next week, as it will be a full week into the new year, everyone will be back full force. It should be perfectly fine for me. The reason why is because I want to spend some time with my partner a little bit, because she's got off for a couple of days, but she will be back a bit later on in the week of this week. So I want to try and spend a bit of time with her. That's what I've been doing today. Been spending time with her, but I wanted to do at least one last live stream before the new year for you guys at least. So I hope you guys understand that. And Steve McMorrin, it is New Year's Eve on this morning where you are. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Yes, so I'll say it to you now. Happy New Year, because it'll be because when you wake up tomorrow, it will be a new year for you over there. So, but I'll be saying Happy New Year's and whatnot for you guys as well. And we'll talk a bit about the end about what kind of what we're thinking of about in terms of the new year and what we hope and expect and whatnot. Excuse me. Right, let's start with the first story here. This one is from Sky News. So Labour would lose almost 200 seats in a highly unstable parliament if elections were held today, a poll suggests. So the poll predicts that Labour would come out on top, but barely a third of the total number of seats, making forming a government difficult. So they are saying, they would still have a majority of seats in Parliament, according to a poll we're going to read into here. If an election was held tomorrow, they would lose 200 seats, which would mean that they would likely try to form a government with the Liberal Democrats, I'm going to assume, given the numbers that they have to get them over the line, the threshold. If that was to be the case, if we were to assume that Lib Dems were to keep the same number of seats as they have now, based on assumptions obviously there, we would presume that Reform UK would have more numbers. I would presume more numbers would go to Reform rather than Conservative. I think based on that, because the Conservatives haven't won back the voters that they've lost at all. Good evening, Alistair Kidd. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. But it is a poll, and like I always say with polls, guys, take them with a pinch of salt. Pretty much on the, when we'll be talking about Labour quite a bit with some of the articles we've got here. But we know that Labour's, we're happy the Conservatives are gone. We got a new government. When I say new government, it's pretty much settled in now, and next year will be a real test for them. A full year in power, where really we'll see what they can do within a full year of power. And you can only blame the Conservatives for so much when it can just be like, you got to stop. You can't keep blaming the Conservatives all the time. You're gonna have to, at some point, you're gonna have to start showing that change. It's going to get to that point at some one way or another, and when it's going to happen, I don't know. But hopefully, it will be coming. We will see some positives, hopefully, in the next year from this Labour government. Like I said, there was one video I did not too long ago. It shows some of the actions that this government is taking, which is a good sign as well. Yeah, I mean the thing that I think hurt Labour more than anything else, out of all the decisions that they have made, has to be the WASPy women. That for me, that was a bit. That was the worst one, I think, out of all the things that they've messed up on. The WASPy women was the biggest betrayal, I think, from the Labour government out of everything that they've done. So, Labour would lose a majority, and nearly 200 seats of a general election was held today. A new mega poll suggests. So, while Sir Keir Starmer will still come out on top, it would be a highly fragmented, unstable parliament with 5 parties holding over 30 seats. More in Common, which uses the data of more than 11,000 people to produce the analysis, said the result shows that the UK's first past the post, the FTP system, is struggling to function in the new world of multi-party politics. And if the result comes true, it would make the government's formation difficult. The model estimates that Labour would win, but with barely a third of the total number of seats and a lead of just 6 seats over the Conservatives. So they're saying the Conservatives have closed the gap? That's very worrying. Simon says 55, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. So according to their analysis, Labour would lose 87 seats to the Tories overall, 67 to Reform UK, and 26 to the SNP, with the Red Bull gains in the July election almost entirely reversed. So according to their 67, that's quite a jump. That's quite a jump there. But yeah, but they still don't have the numbers to win an election. They can have the campaign that is as big of a campaign as they want, but there'll still be a lot of people who are not convinced by them. Nigel Farage's Reform Party would emerge as the third largest in the House of Commons, increasing its seat 14-fold to 72. A number of cabinet ministers would lose their seats to Reform, the main beneficiaries of the declining popularity of Labour and the Tories, including Angela Rayner, Yvette Cooper, Ed Miliband, Bridget Phillipson, Jonathan Reynolds and John Henley. And that's interesting. West Streeting, the Health Secretary, would lose Ilford North to an independent, the analysis suggests. Yeah. Now this one, people would be hell-bent. They would be hell-bent on destroying West Street in his constituency. Really would. And I would be too. And if he was my MP, I would be too. Luke Dorrell, director of More in Common UK, said the model is not a prediction of what would happen at the next general election, which is not expected till 2029. Yeah, you can't predict it. There's way too much. It's 2024. There's so much can happen between now and then. It's ridiculous to make that suggestion. It's just based on if an election was to happen now. If they were just snap and ask people now, this is what a number of people would suggest it. But he said the polling highlights significant acceleration of electoral fragmentation since July's vote, and that the UK's first past-the-post system is struggling to deal with it. Under the UK's first past-the-post system, the person with the most votes in each constituency becomes the MP, and candidates from other parties get nothing. There has been long criticism that this can generate disproportionate results. It is. At the July election, for example, Labour won 411 seats out of 650 on just under 34% of the popular vote. Reform the UK took 14.3% of the popular vote, the third party by vote share, but only won 5 seats. The Tories will struggle to come close to forming government. And More in Common analysis found that 271 seats would be won on under a third of the vote. So Labour would win 228 seats, the Conservatives 222, and Reform 72. The Liberal Democrats would win 58 seats, with the SNP on 37 and the Greens on 2. Yeah, this is why I have a very hard time believing it, because you would basically be implying that the over 800 council seats that the Greens have won, that doesn't account for something. I don't buy this. I don't buy the Greens going back. They've not had negative publicity. I don't really buy that. I don't buy the fact that Liberal Greens would go down in number. SNP would improve there, according to them, which makes sense because, yeah, I've seen some polls saying that the SNP are gonna do very well at the Hollywood elections. The Tories would be the highest in terms of national vote share, 26% compared with Labour's 25%. This will still be their second worst vote share in history and will struggle to come even close to forming a majority government without making gains against Reform on the right or the Lib Dems on the left, Mr. Torrell said it. And in a post on X, he said he had no idea what the model would mean for coalition building if it became a reality at the next election, saying government formation would be difficult. The results are similar to a model by JL Partners published this week, which shows Labour would lose 155 seats, leaving it on 256 if an election were held today. The analysis, which was used by council by-election data, puts the Tories on track to win 208 seats, with Reform on 71, Lib Dems on 66 and SNP on 6. If the results played out at the next election, it would make the government almost impossible for any of the parties sending the country into an unsure future, JL Partners has said. The results are related to a series of grim polls for Labour, who are being made to pay for unpopular decisions such as the means testing and the winter fuel payments and the PR nightmares like the freebies row. Yeah, the freebies row was pretty bad for them. That was pretty embarrassing. Labour are now on track for their worst end of year in opinion polls since the Second World War, Sky News analysis has found. However, history suggests that not all is yet lost for the party, who have previously rebounded from historic lows. And polling experts have told Sky News that they have certainly got time to turn things around and must focus on delivering and improving their message to the public. Yeah, the messaging is the team, their PR team is pants. It's absolutely pants. They need to address that. If there's one thing they need to address, it's the PR, the media department, social media in particular, is absolutely crap. They need to sort that out. However, like it says there, the fact that they've had a negative start, that things have started really badly and they've made some really bad policies and whatnot, that's actually, it's actually better to have these bad policies now, if they would, rather than having them in the run-up, I don't know, to a general election, when the clock is ticking against them. So from that perspective, it's good from that perspective, because at the moment they have free reign. They can get away with whatever they want, Labour, because of the system that we have. They have a long period in power, unless of course Keir Starmer calls an election, which is very unlikely for him to do. I don't think he's going to be doing. I don't think so. I mean, the local elections will obviously paint a picture as well. But again, Labour have time to turn this around. They have plenty of time to do so. And they are laying some foundations on some really important things as well. And I do hope that throughout this parliament we do see some of that change comes. That is the real question. It is gonna, like I've said this before and I've said this again, it is going to take time. Yes, I totally get the criticism towards Labour, and I've been critical too. But like everything, we have to give them a chance. You know, the people already calling for Labour to be hanged already, or demanding a general election, which is just dude, we just had one. Like, you've got to give them a couple of years at least, you know. Like, we weren't given a second vote on Brexit. The Scots were not given a second vote on independence. I'm sorry, if you didn't like the outcome of the election, you're going to have to just suck it up, you know. If it was personally up to me, I'd have the Greens win the general election and form a government, if I'm personally honest, but that's not up to me. I mean, obviously, I think if we had proportional representation, I think we would have, obviously there's different kinds of ones, but I think if we did, we'd have a lot better, people would be able to vote more with their conscience rather than actually tactically voting to oust a certain political party or vote against them, wherever their constituency is, and voting in what is they believe to be their best and not their best interest, and rather than just voting in terms of party tactical policy sort of thing. You know, it's not right. you know, people. I'm in a where I am. I'm in a Labour stronghold, so you know, and my vote went for the Greens last time, and my vote's going to go for the Greens last time unless something dramatic changes. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to have a green MP. The Labour MP is the Labour MP here is actually quite popular in my area. So, but they have lost their shares of they have started losing votes over time, and hopefully the MP that are the green candidate here continues to get the support they need. But that's just my area. But for others, they want to see reform. You know, there's definitely that talk of it. But the question is who are going to be those MPs for reform? Who are the people who are actually going to get those positions? I think that's going to be very interesting to say the least. But like I say, it's a poll. Just take it with a pinch of salt. But it's some food for thought for the future. That is for sure, guys. So the next one is also from Sky News. So number 10 insists that the private school fees are out of reach for most people as ministers defended the VAT policy. So on Wednesday, Labour will scrap the VAT exemption and business rate reliefs for private schools in a bid to fund the 6,500 new teachers in the state sector. Yep, just keep chuck on with this situation. I mean, you know, this is a crying wolf from the rich and the wealthy in society, and those who are able to afford to take their children to private school, while everybody else who cannot afford to literally put food on their table have to go to state school. Like, it's not good enough that state school funding has just been not good enough. Can it be, you know, yes, the government has increased the funding for it. Did this need to happen? Yes, I do think, yeah, we need to bring the level of education that is done in private schools and state schools much closer. It is far too wide. It is far too unfair. It's not right that everyone has that those who have all the money can simply pump all their money straight into their child's education, because not everyone has that money. Not everyone is able to make it successfully in life, and I believe that everybody should have the best education possible for them. It's not right that some people who couldn't get those opportunities or inherited money, it's not right that they miss out. I personally prefer the Finnish education. Me personally, I would rather scrap private schools entirely. However, I can understand why people would defend private schools, defending it because of the money it makes, and, you know, giving, you know, for me, I look at private schools and I see it as, you know, I just see it as an advantage over other kids, and it's not right. And for me, it should be a case of everyone should have the same level playing field. And if you want to further educate your child, you do it out of your own accord, and not through private schools. Everyone should have the same level of education, and if you want to give them further education, then you can do tutoring or whatnot at home, something like that. But everyone should be given the same level of education. All the money and all the funding towards education should be in one group, but that's just my personal preference. The government has insisted that the private school fees are clearly out of reach for most people as ministers continue to defend their VAT policy. On Wednesday, Labour will scrap the VAT exemption and business rate relief for private schools in a bid to fund 6,500 new teachers in the state sector. The Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson, last week suggested that middle-class families are in support of a tax rate, insisting they have largely been priced out of sending their children to private schools already. And she told the Sunday Times that this is why there is such support for our policy of ending the tax breaks that private schools enjoy to invest in state education. Mrs. Phillipson said the average cost of private school fees has risen to £18,000 annually. Middle-class parents are in good professional jobs with housing costs, just can't afford that level of fee, and that they want brilliant state schools, she added. Number 10 has reiterated that private school fees are clearly out of reach for most people, adding that this is why it's right to invest money in state schools. So Keir Starmer's spokesperson said the policy will allow Labour to raise standards in the state sector. Spokesperson stressed that 94% of pupils attend state school rather than private. And the VAT policy expected to raise around $1.5 billion in 2025 alone, rising to $1.8 billion by 2029, and fund the recruitment of 6,500 new teachers. I hope that the teachers they get in. I mean, I'm assuming that the majority of these teachers that they're funding, the recruitment of them, has to be from abroad, because we don't have enough. We don't have enough of our own. So this is going to be from abroad. So that question is of where they're going to come from. I think that's an interesting question. Sakia's spokesperson said the tax raid would mean more revenue invested into schools, but it is also predicted that higher fees will force thousands of pupils out of private schools and into the state sector. Yeah, this will happen. This will happen as a result of this decision. That is going to be expected, and understandably so. Because obviously we also have to take into account here, and this is a very fair point, and there'll be a lot of parents who aren't rich, who aren't wealthy, who have saved up a lot of money to put their children into private school, but feel that they cannot do it as a direct consequence of this action by the government as well. So there will be some parents who may not be very, very wealthy, but have put a lot of their money, hard-earned money, towards getting their child into a private school to give them the best education possible, only to have that taken away from them by this decision by the government. I think that's a fair point to make. So the government has claimed that this will only amount to 0.1% of the student population. And last week, Miss Phillipson claimed to be the voice of pushy middle-class parents who have been priced out of private school and was met with harsh criticism. And Priti Patel, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, said the remarks amounted to more gaslighting from this socialist government that has broken its general election promises. Now, it hasn't really broken election promises apart from the WASPy women. I would say that one has been one that has been said. But, yeah, I just, for me, it's like they haven't directly said that they say money of this is going to go into state schools, but how? How is it going to go in? How is it going to go in and whatnot? They haven't really broken that down and explained it. So that's something that's kind of crossed my mind when they say this. They say it's going to be, but we don't really know the how of how they're going to put that in there. Just 1 second. I just want to say, Alistair Kidd, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Craig Finley, One Angry Pagan, Joe Lefty, Mad Monk 33, and Doc Davis were all given gifted memberships there. Thank you so much for that, Alistair Kidd. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support as always. Yeah, it's not always working. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It's all about the gifted the membership thing. It's all about just making sure people are the option for gifted membership is on. It's encouraging people to do so. I'm just going to read what some of your comments are going to be saying about this. All the money stuck in private schools could be invested in better public schools, says Jal. Yep, 100% agree. He also says private in schools all over Europe, including Portugal, do not receive support. They pay taxes. You pay for your kids to go there. Public school is funded because it's public. Yeah. Stephen Moore says, I would say about them, gives them a fair chance to cut through to the electorate. If he can't, he would have a go. F the private school, says Warren Pagan. As Sakir agrees with me that the Finnish education system is what I think is better for the UK, again, in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a cultural thing behind the Finnish education as well. So, because they also don't do homework. And a lot of people, like, I don't agree with homework. I think it's a terrible thing. I think it's a terrible thing, that kids have homework. But it's something that's what we have as well. Stephen Moore says Starmer's low popularity rating is more of a concern to Labour than any other poll results. If things don't begin to improve, then he would have to go eventually. I'm not sure if there's enough. I don't know if Keir Starmer has enough enemies in Labour yet, but there definitely are some growing within it. That's for sure. The lobby group ownership of the media is extremely dangerous. This is one of the issues Labour should be aggressively solving. Yeah, we talked about media reform before. Like, if they don't deal with the reforms in the media, they're gonna find themselves out on their backside anyway. Reform UK numbers are being inflated like they were for the general election. Ridiculous, as One Angry Pagan. At the moment, yes, but we honestly it's just literally a snap opinion poll based on if an election took place that day, what it would be. Like I say, with all polls, you have to take them with a pinch of salt. As for this, obviously, it's a step in the right direction. But yeah, while there are some parents who will feel aggrieved by this decision, if more money goes, for me, if more money goes into state education, good. That's the main thing. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. You know, people need to make sure that their children are given the best education possible, and I think we all want kids to have the best education possible, and it should not always have to come down to money. Money should not always be a factor among these things, guys. There are socialists like myself in Labour, but Labour itself is not socialist. The right wing continue the misrepresentation. Again, that's how the mainstream media portrays a certain political party, group, or people. I will always say sometimes it's about sometimes it's a case of listen to what they actually say, not just what the papers or what media stories are telling you as well. Like even me talking to you now, like, you know, I'll try and give you guys my best views and viewpoints and analysis that I can, but it doesn't mean that I'm always right as well. Sometimes just, you know, I know it's time consuming, but sometimes just listening to what the politicians actually say, the words that come out of their mouth, you know, may not always be the same thing that is put in front of you on an article or a newspaper as well. So I think that's a really important context you need to add whenever you hear about stories and headlines about certain politicians and MPs. I think that's a really important caveat. The next one I've got for you here is this one from The Guardian. So, Sir Keir Starmer among the least left-wing Labour MPs a study has found. Kemi Baganout is judged to be the right of the Tories and Lib Dems Ed Davey further left than Starmer. Like, I'm just going to say this here. Like, I've said this in my Q&A live stream because I did ask this, like, do I consider myself left-wing, centre, or right-wing, or whatever? Like, these are... this is how people, like, portray them as one side or another and sort of thing. I don't consider left-wing at all. I don't consider Keir Starmer right-wing. I know some people have already painted him as that based on some of the policies and decision-makings that he's made. I do think I would say he's still centre. I wouldn't go as far as to call him left-wing. I don't think he's left-wing. I really don't think so. I would say centre. I would not call him right-wing because it hasn't gone... There's some of the policies and, like, there have been some bad policies, some right-wing... Some of the policies and decisions have felt right-wing by some of the decisions that they've been made. Now, is it enough to call him right-wing? I would say no, as of right now. But that can obviously change by new policies and decisions or U-turns and whatnot based on what they do. Because, you know, it doesn't really matter whether they're you can judge them whether call them left or right or whatever on the outside, but when they're in power, that's when you can really see that's when you will really see what certain politicians and MPs are really like. When they're in power, when they have power to make differences and changes in people's lives, that's when you'll know, like, if this person really is what they say they are, if they're really left-wing, centre, right-wing, extreme right, far left. That's when you really know somebody. You know, when they're in power, that's when you really know. You know, this is, you know, the likes of Angela Rayner, West Street, and all these Labour cabinet ministers. This is now we are really seeing the real of them now, because there's no shadows. They have the power to make changes to people's lives, and we're going to see, as a group, as a cabinet, as the inner circle, as a party overall, how they are going to run the country. The UK as overall, mainly specifically England, but we're going to see how they run things. And over time, over the course of this parliament, we're going to see what they're going to be. Are they going to be left-wing? Are they going to be centre? Or are some people really going to start branding them right-wing by some of the policies that they've made? I just calling them, because I have heard people calling them right-wing Labour, and I just find it baffling. Like, I just don't see it as of right now. I don't see it. Ed Davey further left than Summer, I would say yes. I would agree with that study. I would agree on that point, that's for sure. So let's read more into this. So Sir Keir Starmer is towards the right wing of Labour members in Parliament, according to a study of the political positions from MPs from every major party. So the Prime Minister is less left-wing than almost all of his 401 Labour colleagues, according to the research by Chris Hanratty, a professor at politics at Royal Holloway, University of London. Study also shows that the Conservative leader, Kemi Baganout, sits to the right of her party, with a score that puts her political position closer to Nigel Farage ahead of Reform than most of her own party. Henrietta told the Times, before Brexit, I would have said it was normal for Prime Minister to be more centrally located than most of their party. David Cameron was to the left of the Conservatives, just as Tony Blair was to the right of the Labour Party. Henry and his team compiled the results by asking 1,006 local councillors to compare their MPs and situate them against party leaders. He carried out the same study last year, but this is the first time that the political opinions of most current MPs have been charted in this way, given that more than half of them were elected for the first time this year. MPs are rated on a scale of 0 to 100, with 0 being the most left-wing and 100 being the most right-wing. Independent MPs were not included. So Labour's Natia Whitterman and Diane Abbott came out as the most left-wing MPs from a major party, with scores of 4. Reform UK's Rupert Lau and the Conservatives' Suella Braverman were judged to be the furthest to the right, with a rating of 95. Starmer's rating of 48 puts him roughly in the centre of the Commons, but to the right of almost his entirely parliamentary party. So according to the study, he thinks the majority of Labour MPs are still left. He is slightly further to the right compared to the same study last year, a possible reflection of decisions his government has taken in the first few months, including removing winter fuel payments from millions of pensioners and refusing compensation for the WASPy women. Yeah, that was like I said, that was the hammer blow. Parliament as a whole was moved decisively to the left since the same time last year, thanks to the Labour's landslide election victory, as well as significant gains by the Liberal Democrats, who are judged to be almost exactly as left-wing as their Labour counterparts. The Lib Dem leader, Ed Davey, is seen to be significantly more left-wing than Starmer, with a rating of 37. Reganelite is seen as one of the most right-wing MPs in Parliament, with a score of 88, putting her well to the right of most of her Conservative colleagues. Just 2 points to the left of Farage. Her predecessor, Rishi Sunak, sits in the middle of the party with a rating of 77. Given the language and the it's not so much what just Kemi says, it's the language and the tone she comes across as well. Oni, says Fagan, yeah. I mean, take, like I say, guys, like with the poll we saw at the start, take it with a pinch of salt, this study. But since taking over leader of the opposition, Reganelite has taken relatively few policy positions, but as said the previous Conservative government, talked right but governed left. She has praised Argentina's radical right-wing president Javier Mendy and repeatedly criticised British institutions, for example, of what she deemed to be woke ideology. However, she has spent the last few days rowing publicly with Reform, accusing the rival of faking its membership numbers and reportedly urging GB News to stop giving Farage so much airtime. Henry said judgments are invariably personnel, but these measures should give similar results if they were to repeat the exercise tomorrow. I mean, you can't, I've already covered in a video about the whole Farage fiasco, if I'm honest, but I will just say, Kemi should just, complaining about Farage giving airtime. It's just like, you guys, your party weren't doing anything about reform when you were in power, and now you're complaining a bit about Farage. And the fact that they may have overtaken your numbers in terms of subscribers, not members, subscribers. We have to call them subscribers because they're not members, because they have no say whatsoever. They have no say whatsoever in the political party. They're just paying the money and that's it. Whereas if you're a YouTube member here, your opinion matters. You also get custom emojis as well as whenever you comment on my videos, you get a response from me as well. So you actually get some benefits for being a YouTube member here, as opposed to being a subscriber to the Reform UK Party. Just want to put that plug in there as well. But in terms of like left wing, right wing, I do consider Liberal Democrats a bit more left than Labour. But they are a soft bunch. I think is a soft bunch is what I would call them. I think like the Liberal Democrats, and they've shown their soft side in the past as well. We've seen that. They took a risk to decide to form a government with the Conservatives back in 2010, which was the worst decision they could have possibly made. They literally just shot themselves in the foot, and they've come they didn't even win that much of the vote, and yet still got that much of the vote overall in the general election, but still won 70 seats. That tells you everything you need to know about how messed up the system really, really is. But yeah, people are still backing the Conservatives in Kemi according to this anyway, that is for sure. Just have a quick look in the chat. See what you guys are saying. Right-wing and authoritarian regimes are, like in Germany, banned in Portugal in the constitution. So a party proclaiming to being Soviet, fascist, or nationalist per se are not even allowed, says Jow. Social Democrats here, following the German line after 74, is the largest group, and it includes all non-left-leaning moderate parties. And there is no right-wing in Portugal. Lib Dem gain can only be good at the moment. Miliband is a lefty. I would call Ed Miliband a lefty, actually. But would I call him a far lefty? No. Again, these are just rhetorics that you can call them. More right-wing leaning party called Chetla here got 20% of the voting, but they are not right-wing. They're more the more voted party is the Social Democrats, Socialists, and Chechnya, says Jow. And the more extreme left, and then align itself with people like Putin, almost got cleaned out of parliament, says Jow. Yeah, you have a very robust parliament. You have a very robust system, and the thing is like when you've had a robust system, you've had it for such a long time. You know, it becomes normalized. You have a very normal structure, normal system in place. To make such a massive change in such a massive change in Britain, a lot of people will not like it. You know, if we want to make the changes in politics, not just electoral, but inside the structure of Westminster Parliament, how everything is operated, you know, people don't like that. People don't like massive big changes. However, this is something that needs to happen in the UK. It needs to happen. We need massive structural change. The problem is people are afraid of it. People are afraid of it. That people are worried about what's going to happen as a result of it. And people need to learn, and we need to say to people that it's important that these changes happen. We need to have these changes, these massive structural changes. We need to change the way people vote. We need to change the way that the way things are processed in, you know, the way laws are being made, the way things are processed in politics. There's massive fundamental changes that I believe need to happen for the benefit of all in the UK, and not just in England, but the benefit of all in the UK. So guys, going to take a little break here from the content. Got 3 more videos to cover here. Got a classic one for you guys here from Exploding Heads. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's Colin from Portsmouth here on Jeremy Clarkson and the farmers' protest. Hope you guys enjoyed this classic one.
Colin from Portsmouth's on the line. Hello, Colin.
I am disgusted, Anthony. Absolutely disgusted. You can't even buy hundreds of acres of farmland to avoid inheritance tax anymore. Just who do the Labour Party think they are?
This is about the farmers' protests, aren't they, Colin? It's very complicated.
Yeah, if you're trying to make the rich pay their fair share, then you're going about it the wrong way. Without that loophole, we wouldn't have had 3 entertaining series of agricultural television on Amazon Prime.
Right.
Does Keir Starmer not care for the creative industries anymore? What's he going to make farmers watch now? Bloody Country File?
Clarkson can put his money into a trust, I think, instead. That's what he said yesterday, anyway.
Oh, so we all have to watch Clarkson's Trust Fund on Netflix now, do we? Labour really are sucking the joy out of this nation.
I've seen worse shows on Netflix, and yes, this is affecting quite a few farmers, but not as many as people say. But it's the loudest voices of the richest who are causing uproar, isn't it, Colin? The people with the biggest farms.
And that's how protests work in this country, mate. Poor people didn't get their £20 universal credit cut reversed, did they? Why not? Because they didn't have Lord Sir Hoover Dyson with a megaphone outside Big Ben shouting about it.
Fair enough, yeah.
If government policy is affecting you and you want it changed, you better hope one of the affected has a Coots bank account. Anyway, mate, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
Next, they'll be complaining about Brexit.
I know, complaining about Brexit. Oh, what kind of planet we're living on, guys. That was Exploding Heads around the time about, you know, Jeremy Clarkson kicking off about the farmers and all that nonsense, you know. I mean, obviously, land tax would have been more preferable, but that's the situation we're in. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that funny one. It is one that one of my favourites from Exploding Heads. They've done so many good ones. They've done so many good ones there, guys. Guys, just before I go to the next article, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Help me get to that 2,000 subscriber mark. It would be greatly appreciated. We didn't make it this year to 2,000, but I would still like to get to it. Hopefully by the end of perhaps March, if possible, if we can get to 2,000 subscribers before then, that would be fantastic. If we can make it happen, we really, really appreciate it. If you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, because I know it would be greatly appreciated if you can do so. You can by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. That gets you access to custom emojis. It also gets you access to membership community posts as well. It also gets you, and if you decide to become a $1.99 member, gets you early access to additional content as well. And if you do throw a super chat down, you will get your comment read as well. You could also buy me a coffee as well. The link for that is in the description. Or you also join the Patreon. I get a bigger cut if you join the Patreon as well. I also get exclusive content on that there, and I do additional videos on there as well for Patreon as well. So do check out the links down below. And finally, do consider joining me tomorrow night on the Discord, which is free to join as well. Link for that is in the description. If you want to follow me into the new year, I'll be on from probably 10 o'clock, maybe 9 o'clock in the evening. So if you guys want to come and hang out in the general chat, you're more than welcome to do so. I will ping the server if anybody wants to come in and hang out with me. You are more than welcome to do so. So that's why there'll be no after chat tonight. There'll be one tomorrow night as we go into the new year. So you're more than welcome to join me there, guys. So thank you all very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. The next one I've got for you guys is from the iPaper. Thanks, Roger. I appreciate it. Good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. The headline is Farage doesn't speak for the working class. Union boss on how Labour can beat reform. So TUC General says Starmer has to make working people feel their lives are improving. And this is a piece from him that we're going to be reading from that we're going to be reading from the union boss, basically coming down on their opinion piece on how to counter Farage, and this is it, But I also think that this was something that was pointed out by Phil Morehouse in one of his videos, is that even if people's lives feel improved, they may still vote against you if by certain political decisions, certain actions. You can grow the economy, you can grow GDP, you can improve businesses, but if people don't generally feel better off, if people don't feel like there's more money in their pockets, people don't feel like that they can go to the shops or walk among their high streets, if they don't feel that their lives are better and that their communities around them are a little bit better than they have been 4 years ago, if people don't feel that, people are going to vote for something else. And we already know that many people are already impatient. So I want to believe that this is the solution, but I do think it's a number of things that need to happen, not just this. Is my view. But let's read this piece, you guys. So unlike Nigel Farage, I was brought up in a working class community and still live in a working class community. Like the rest of the UK political elite, Paul Newark, the General Secretary of the TUC, is exercised by the insurgent force headed by the new MP for Clacton. Newark points to polling evidence that shows improving the workers' conditions and rights and so-called make work pay agenda is popular with Reform UK voters. But opposed by Farage is a vulnerability that he and Labour will no doubt be seeking to exploit as they continue to take some of the air out of the reform balloon. The TUC's boss's main message to Keir Starmer is that people need to feel tangible benefits from the Labour government in the next 12 months to drain the wells of anger behind the rise of populism. It's about making tangible improvements in people's working lives. He said of Labour's task for 2025, I think people want to see in terms of, can I get my GP appointment? Is my kids' school falling down around their ears? Is my pay worth more than it was this time last year? Now, there'll be some things next year which will see a big boost to the minimum wage, but also things like moving to the ridge of the age rates that will make a tangible difference to people. But we need to see more of that delivery going forward. The lessons from Joe Biden's defeat in the US presidential election, including a failure to manage the fallout from what Newark calls industrial transitions. Whether it's the steel industry in Port Talbot or the oil and gas industry in Aberdeen or elsewhere in Scotland, unions are anxious about job losses, while reform claims workers are being sacrificed for ideology. And he says the new Labour government is slow out of the traps when it comes to dealing with the closure of Port Talbot works, and they need to do much better in the future when sitting out on what it's doing to replace the jobs that are going with new jobs. Yeah, this is really fundamentally important. When we hear about these massive job cuts that are taking place in businesses and whatnot, Labour need to pounce on these much faster, and the action needs to be a lot quicker to say we are going to step in and protect these workers at all costs. And I don't think they're quick enough on this. Excuse me, especially when they're supposed to be seen as a party more that's supposed to be caring about the working people. So unions are worried about what does this mean for workers in oil and gas. As the government prepares to unveil its industrial strategy, Newark urges ministers to keep it laser focused on what matters most to ordinary people. How would you measure the success of the industrial strategy for us? It's about creating, protecting sustainable, good quality jobs. The rest of it, is for people that we represent. It really doesn't matter. He says that Farage is mistaken to believe that working class voters don't care about climate change. People do care, but that they care the right to say, governments, we don't just want warm words with a just transition. We want to see what it does mean for me and for my job, my family, my local community. Yeah, we don't want. Yeah, you can have catchphrases and word salad all you want, but it's about what it actually means, like for that particular person. And Farage will try and exploit that and a whole range of other issues, and I think part of that job has got to be sort of demonstrating whatever the funny video on TikTok that he doesn't speak for the internet of working class people at all. The unions were pleased when Starmer Deliveries promised to introduce a raft of workers' rights legislation within the first 100 days of entering number 10. He is pushing to increase the ability of unions to negotiate with employers in a whole sector, not just company by company. So far, the government has committed only allowing the so-called sectorial collective bargaining in the care industry. And I think this is really important. It is not the beginning of the end of the sectorial collective bargaining, and will just be up for discussion about which other sectors could benefit from that approach. He cited seafarers and delivery workers, for example, as low-hanging fruit, where the government can step in to ensure wages were negotiated across the whole sector. Although not part of the current bill, Newark wants to see improvements to statutory sick pay and more workers' representation on boards. Yeah, you looking after workers will look after you. The unions are gearing up for more major fights over public service pay, but Newark insisted that he has a good working relationship with Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. We've had more positive engagement in the Treasury in the last 7 months than we've had in the last 14 years, he said. This isn't, doing favours for our mates in the trade union movement, it is. We see unions as an important part of the modern industry, and that's been the basics of the engagement. The fact that this is one of the biggest one of the biggest positives, I would say. They actually have a good relationship with unions. Is it perfect? No. But at least there is dialogue. There is not this whole bollocks under the Conservatives with unions where they were basically just shelved and left outside to sit on strikes all the goddamn time. We didn't have that. This time we're actually seeing, we've seen engagement. And it's because of that, all the strikes that were happening, when Labour came in, they dealt with them. They got round the table, they compromised, and they worked out an agreement, and they got the strikes to stop. They got people going back to work. Because that was the first thing. And Labour and the Conservatives were just sitting on that. They were sitting on that, and they weren't doing anything about it. And these public sector workers needed that. And this is, and just hearing that there, saying that they've had more engagement with the Treasury in the last 7 months than they've had in the last 14 years, that's a good sign. It's a good sign. Does it mean that unions are going to get everything they want? No. But it means that they at least have a communication. They have that communication this time for government, as opposed to not having any at all. So workers do have some say to a certain extent, especially if you are part of a union, which is why I must emphasize more than anything before, if you are in the workforce, if you can join the union, do join the union, because there is that saying that there is strength in numbers. So do consider joining the union if you can. It really does help. But I thought that was a very interesting piece there. What did you guys think of that? Let's have a quick look at you guys in the comments. First of all, thank you, Alistair Keir, for being a member for 12 months. It was a year ago since we turned on the YouTube membership, and you have been a supporter ever since I started it. So thank you so much for being a member for a full year. I really do appreciate it. Casper Norva has been a member for 11 months. Thank you so much, Casper, for being a long-time member as well. I really, really appreciate your support as well. Thank you very much. And One Angry Pagan has been a member for 9 months as well. Frig blessings for all ye badgers, he says there with the badger emoji. Yes, thank you very much. All hail the badger, guys. All hail the badger. Sorry I don't have a badger plushie. I'll look to get one maybe at some point next year. Right now, I really don't see Farage taking power, but he's also got to not F up. He not just wait for a possibility, but uncertainty, Labour's failure. Basically, there are still way too many variables. Good to hi Casper. Good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Pagan's birthday tomorrow. Hassle the life out of him, says Billy. Well, if he joins the chat tomorrow, then yes, we will. If Reform get any kind of political power in the UK, kiss all the agreements with EU goodbye and expect more trouble. This is why, it's not just, we've got to be able to counter what Reform are saying. We've got to show people that populism is not the answer. And if Labour don't show, Labour need to be aware of this. And I think Labour are aware, but I don't think they're taking it seriously enough. I mean, they know they've got time on their hands, but they know it's not going to be there forever. Also enjoying viewing everything through the perspective of evolution. Absolute ideologies don't get well with that, says One Angry Pagan. Billy Kershaw said, my son showed me the Amazon Select Committee that I already seen through Darren. I'm so proud. That's fantastic, Billy. That shows that that makes me so happy to hear that, Billy, because that tells me that your son sees the horror of the horror of how Amazon treats its workers, of how really terrible that they are. They are very, very nasty. They are. So that's a great sign that some paying attention to what's happening. I think Farage wants power but not accountability. I think he would hate to be the Prime Minister because he'd be judged on his performance and the results of his politics. I agree, Steve. I 100% agree. I think, if he could, he would like to be, Dominic Cummings, is what he would like to be, rather than the Prime Minister. He would like to be Dominic Cummings, pulling the strings, but not actually being the face. I think he would prefer that. I think he would prefer that, if I'm honest. The next story I've got for you guys, let me make sure I've got this on the right one. It's an interesting one. It involves us, YouTubers. It's from The Independent. YouTube urged by Nandi to promote higher quality children's content. So the Culture Secretary, Lisa Nandi, praised the site for democratizing content creation, but urged it to show more educational videos. So basically what the Culture Secretary is saying is that I, as a YouTuber, needs to do more education. I and all other YouTubers out there need to do more educational videos. And my response is, well, maybe you should put some money, maybe you should put some state money into state schools. Perhaps maybe you could do something, maybe you could work something out with YouTube, like a content creator on YouTube that does educational videos. Maybe you could do some collaborations with them in tandem with state schools. Maybe you can build some kind of connections there. I think that's an option there. But in a more serious point, like this it's good that there are, YouTube Kids has been the YouTube Kids app has been a major success of YouTube. I think that's something that's been really, really good for kids in terms of providing a different kind of education for children. Even though it's fun, what I think the most important thing is education is to try and make it as fun as possible. If you make education fun, it means they're learning more and doing so. We want to try and make education fun. And I think YouTube Kids does a very, that app in particular, I think it does a very good job. And I think it really does protect children. I've looked on the app when I visit certain relative families a while back. I remember, and I just picked it up and I just opened it up. I just wanted to have a look at it, and I was just like, yeah, this is really cool. You know, try one or two things out just to have a look and that, and I was quite impressed with it. And I do think that there is an opportunity here to not just YouTube but other ways of obviously of education, because you know, I've said this before, and you guys know the phrase that a child's mind's like a sponge. And for me, if you can turn education into fun for children, then it's a good thing, because it means that they are learning and having fun at the same time. It's a win-win. It is a win-win if you can do that for kids. It's an absolute massive win-win if you can do that for kids, because it means they'll be better off even more in the future. You know, I'm not saying kids should become YouTubers, but there are lots of opportunities for them to do so. But make education fun is the message what I have for anybody who wants to be a content creator on YouTube and prioritize it towards children or educational videos. Make it fun, because if you make it fun, yeah, you will attract more children to it. So YouTube and other online video sites have been urged by the government to push more high quality content to children. The Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy has written to tech firms urging them to promote videos that inform children about the world and aid mental emotional development. Mrs. Nandy, who has a 9-year-old son, said, "This is something that affects my family, like every family in the country." She told BBC Radio 4 Today programme, "A lot of content that we make here in the UK is high quality content directed towards children. It helps inform them about the world. It helps with their emotions and mental well-being and their development, and it's very enjoyable as well. And what we're finding is that more and more children are moving into video sharing platforms like YouTube. They're finding their own content is often not as high quality as the sort of content that public service broadcasters and the commercial broadcasters are producing." Yeah, but this is a dying trend. It's less about what's on the TV and more what's on the tablet now. That's just the reality now. People, you know, and that's why most of these programs and whatnot, they're on public service broadcasters now. They're getting pushed onto online platforms, you know, like BBC iPlayer and whatnot, because people prefer to content on their own time, their own use, rather than advertisements now. You know, less and less people like sitting on the telly waiting. You know, ITV is one of the worst. They pump so many adverts. You know, there's a reason why. I'll give you guys a prime example, right? So the wrestling promotion that I enjoy, called All Elite Wrestling, right? They put it up on ITV4. I think it's like every Friday or Thursday or whatever, they put it on, yeah, for free for people to watch, right? But I don't wait for ITV to put it on. I'm subscribed to an app that allows me to watch it as soon as, from the moment it airs to after it's aired, online. And what I do is I wake up the next morning and I don't watch it overnight, but what I do is I wake up the next morning and I straight away put it on and watch it, so that I can watch it at my convenience, and I don't have to worry about bombarded by adverts as well. Now, obviously, I have to pay for that subscription, but for me, I'd rather pay for that subscription than sit there or wait another day to watch it at a time that's inconvenient to me, while also getting bombarded with adverts. And that's that. You know, unless it's stuck on the TV and you can't watch it any other way, then that's different. But it's so much easier for me. And I'm willing to bite the bullet and pay a little bit if it means that I can watch something of my own convenience rather than on TV. This is the thing. People want to have choice. People want to have more control. And that's what online does. And I'm sure most of you agree with me with that as well. So Miss Nandy, appearing on Today, was guest edited by former children's presenter Baroness Florella Benjamin. And said, "I've written to the video sharing platforms. The intention is that we would prefer for them to work with us to make sure that children are able to see and find high quality content much more easy. There's something great about YouTube. It's democratizing. It's got these people who start their careers from their bedrooms, and we're well aware of that. There's a balance to be struck here to make sure that children can find really good quality content. And we're very struck by the fact that the last government had a run of schemes where they put more investment into children's content. What they found was that although it meant more high quality content was made, children weren't necessarily watching it. And we think that's because children weren't able to find it. This is also down to the algorithm as well that you need. This is down to YouTube algorithm as well. but then it's the same. Like it's about the algorithm as well. So I don't know too much about the children's algorithm. So it's the YouTube Kids algorithm app. So it'd be interesting to see how that works in it. Most children of my child's age aren't on live TV. They're looking things up on the internet. They're on their iPads. We've got to make sure that they're easily able to find that. She admitted that her son on his iPad would pop more than I probably would like. Yeah. YouTube told the BBC, the safety of our users is our main priority, and our mission is to ensure that our platform provides kids and teens with safe, age-appropriate online experience that allows them to grow and explore. Former Play School presenter Lady Benjamin said, I feel that children's programs, as we know them, in crisis, in turmoil, because children are migrating to online platforms, unregulated platforms. Children's practitioners haven't got the work, the writers, what's happened to our children's writers, what's happened to our children's producers, our children's directors. Yeah, that is a transition. It is definitely a transition. I mean, like, I don't watch, like, this might shock a few people, but I don't watch television series anymore. Like, I used to watch quite a lot of television series. The last TV series was one me and my missus watched. It was online as well. It wasn't even on TV. If you were to ask me if a TV, it's all better online. I mean, my mum still watches EastEnders, but I don't pay any attention to it. Like, she'll put it on when I go over and visit, right, and she'll put on EastEnders, right. I'm not paying attention to it. You know what I'm doing? I'm grabbing my phone. I'm putting something on that I want to watch. Because I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in EastEnders. That's just me personally. Some people here in the chat may still love EastEnders because it's a traditional show, and that's totally cool if it's your thing, but it's not my thing, But there are occasionally still some domestic shows that I do watch. I think it's like what's the show called? The 1% Club. There's a game show. That's really cool. The Chase. Like, I don't regularly watch it. If it's on, if I've got literally nothing else to do, if I'm sitting with family or whatever downstairs, I'll watch it with them if I really fancy it. There are certain game shows that are pretty cool watching, or a certain comedy one. Like, I think the last TV show I used to always go out of my way to watch was 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, or 8 out of 10 Cats. Was another TV show. The Last Leg was another one I used to watch a lot of. Have I Got News for You? Because they were just banter, funny stuff, But now, personally, here at home, like, my entertainment is right here in front of me. My computer, my device is my online. I mean, I do have books, but I very rarely read them. But it's everyone's different preference. But I do think this is an interesting conversation, that's for sure. So what are you guys saying in the chat about this? I don't watch very much domestic TV. I'm more online content, so says Sakia. Yeah, you're the same with me. You've become, you used to love certain shows and whatnot, but then you just fell it's just fell off, and you become more interested in content online than on TV. It's not to say you hate TV. You don't hate it. It's just you prefer what's online now rather than on your TV. That's not to say that if you wanted to go back onto the TV, you can do. In my experience, most kids want interaction at a time, time well spent. Yeah, if you give your kids time, like we've talked about in the past about how, you want to, how can I put this? So I won't say who they are, but I know parents who waited for the right time before they gave their kids phones or gave their kids access to online. They really want to stretch it as much as they possibly can and really push them to, playing with toys, spending more time, and limiting their time online and all that kind of stuff. Really try to control it, to give a fair balance. And I think that's the right thing to do. I think you cannot give children unlimited time online. You have to mitigate it. I think we can all agree that needs to be done. I think that's really, really important. Jal says, I watch the news in TV because it's more complete and nothing more. Our BBC RTP has its content online, can't stand advertisement. Yeah, well, I would say if I wasn't here, if I was actually downstairs, I would actually go down to watch the 6 o'clock news. Because I do think the 6 o'clock news, like on the BBC, like even for all what people say about the BBC, it's still like an important, like, here are the main headlines that's happening right here, right now, the biggest headlines sort of thing. Unless I go out my, that I think if there is anything I would go out of my way to try and watch more, maybe it's that. Evan Eastenders had a horrible, nasty attitude that people got. It says Billy Kershaw, Russell Howard hour. Yeah, I did. I didn't go out of my way to watch Russell Howard's hour, but I used to watch a few bits and bobs online personally on that one. To be fair, okay, Labour. So now you've seen YouTube's value. How about you learn to utilize it for F's sake? Yeah, this is the problem. Yeah, you Labour are not taking advantage of it. Yeah, we're talking about Labour encouraging YouTube to provide more children's content, and it's like, why don't you use the platform to promote your government, promote policy, promote things? No, they're not doing it. Yeah, no ways. My son, yeah, we've read that already. Sorry. There is no bias news here. They are compelled to state their position so we can tell them that often and facts are facts, says Jow. Yeah, interesting indeed. So I've got one last story for you guys. I do have one funny video to see ourselves out as well, but I do have some stuff I want to show. I'll go through some stuff at the end as well. So this last one is an interesting one from the Times. Yeah, an interesting one, for say the least. So, a rare spider and a funding row is to end the plans for UK's answer to Disneyland. So, a judge has ordered the company behind the £3.5 billion theme park plan for the outskirts of London to be wound up. So, this was a project that was a long time ago, that was announced a long time ago, and it's... there's been executives changed over, there's been complications, funding issues, and now you have a rare spider that could potentially be under threat as a result of this so-called 3.5 billion theme park. It looks like a dead duck, I think, at this point. I personally would have loved to have seen some kind of Disneyland themed, not Disneyland, but something on that level here. But if I'm absolutely honest, we still have great places like Thorpe Park, Chessington, Alton Towers are great places. But it would have been nice to have like a something of the results of Disneyland level here in the UK for people to go to. Something along those levels. I really do think, the UK or England in particular. Yeah, I'm going to be a bit biased. Sorry, Scotland. I really do think that there is the land to produce something like this, and it's a real shame that something like this is not going to happen here. Now, yes, people will obviously claim, well, you could get on the Eurostar and go straight to Disneyland in Paris. Yes, thank you, Captain Obvious. But I'm also a little bit greedy in saying I would like to have something here as well. So I can say that as well. Obviously the dream one most people like to go to is the Disneyland in Florida, of course. But I mean, I wouldn't say it'd be Disneyland, but something on that caliber would be nice to have here. But that's not to say that the parks, the theme parks that we have here aren't poor. Because I've been to Chessington, I've been to Thorpe Park, I've been to Alton Towers, I've been to them all, and I've had a great time going to them all the time. I know some people probably have had some odd experiences with certain things, but they've all been great whenever I've been to them. So let's read into this. So visions of Europe's biggest theme park being built on the outskirts of London have ended amid a bit ramifications over funding and the protection of a rare spider. So promoters of the £3.5 billion scheme boasted of tie-ups with Paramount, the Hollywood studios, along with the BBC and ITV, which would create awe-inspiring experiences based on hit films and programmes including Mission Impossible, Doctor Who, Top Gear and Paddington Bear. Oh, well, I love the Paddington Bear. I know a certain friend of mine that would have really liked that one. Top Gear, I'm not so sure. Plans for the London resort, described as the UK's version of Disneyland in Paris, were unveiled almost 14 years ago. It was to be located on the Swascombe Peninsula of the Thames between Dartford and Gravesend in Kent. This is what it would have looked like there, the London, the £3.5 billion operation. And the thing is, if they actually pushed ahead with this all, you know, the money it would have made in the... Oh, why is this not working again? I've got to switch my chat. 1 second. You know, it still would have... Oh, Martin Briggs, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Like, the costs, yes, it would have cost a lot now, but the profit it would make in the long term would pay off. It would have paid off in the long term. You know, it would have paid off in the long term for something like this in the UK. It really, really would have. Because not just people here, tourists would come to an event, to something like this as well. People in Europe, if you were to make it one of the biggest... You know, if you were to make it on the level of rivaling Disneyland Paris, people would flock to come to it because it would be there first. You know, so it would make the money needed to recoup it. The attraction forecast to have 12 million visitors a year and create 30,000 jobs was due to open in 2024. Would have opened this year. Didn't happen. A judge at the High Court in London has now ordered the company behind the scheme is wound up following an application by Paramount, which is owed 13.5 million. In Sovereignty and Companies Court, Judge Sally Barber found the company had ceased trading and appears unlikely to ever do so again. The theme park was seen as rejuvenating the Swascombe Peninsula, which was left scarred by industry, including power generation, dredging, landfills, and more than 150 years of chalk quarrying for cement production. In 2014, Eric Pickles, the then Communications Secretary, declared that the theme park was a project of national importance, meaning that a development application would be fast-tracked through the planning inspectorates rather than local councils. And I would have agreed with him. I would have said the exact same thing. I would have said this is of national importance because it would have been a major boost to the economy. This would have been a boost to the economy, the UK economy. However, 2 months after the company applied for development consent order, the government environmental advisor designated 642 acres of the peninsula as protected site of special scientific interest. Don't get me wrong, I'm very much protective of national species here. I just wish it wasn't. I just wish there wasn't an endangered species at risk here. Natural England said the industrial use of left a landscape providing ideal conditions for a unique variety of wildlife, including plants such as divided seed and slender hair ear, birds and invertebrates such as distinguished jumping spider, one of the rarest spiders in the country, will also thrive in there. Yeah, so I would have looked to possible ways how we can move them somewhere, somewhere where we can protect their way of life somewhere else, possibly. In all seriousness, Stephen Norris, the former Conservative Transport Minister and London mayoral candidate, and P.Y. Gilbert, the French entrepreneur who rescued London's Millennium Dome, once held senior roles at the theme parks company. Gilbert resigned as chief executive in 2022, and Norris stood down as chairman and director in March, and neither have been replaced. Tells you everything, doesn't it? London's Resort Company Holding Limited last year entered an agreement with creditors it claimed it owed $105 million, which allowed it to continue operating while securing a further $607 million of funding. Paramount claimed that most of the money the company claimed to own was a sham, with much of the alleged debt linked to Adil Al-Hamoumi, a Kawali mastermind who ran the scheme until he declared bankrupt last year. So it looks like some people were tricked into this project. Some people with the intention of not actually. So some of the people who were involved in this project, their intention was just to make a big load of money, declare himself bankrupt, and run away, basically. Ali Hamoudi, 38, said earlier this year that he had sunk $40 million of his family fortune into the project, which had ruined my reputation and left me bankrupt. He criticised Britain's planning system as broken and said it needed to be streamlined. Is it really his fault, or is it really Britain's fault streamlining the planning system? To be fair, like, they need to be vigorous. You know, we're talking about a massive amount of land here to build a Disneyland style perform. So it's understandable there needs to be questions over it as well. So, which is perfectly understandable here. Brexit land, maybe, says Science. The roller coaster in Brexit land goes off a cliff, says Science. I don't think Brexit is the reason behind this, if I'm honest, guys. But we can say that if you really want to. The High Court heard that the development company had given it an option to buy a plot on the peninsula needed for the theme park, and had handed the ownership to one of 4 parcels of land to another company for no charge. To hand it over to another company for no charge. Why? Barbara highlighted concerns that Al Hamouni was instructing the London Resort barrister Ian Mayers KC and its law firm Judge Skies Frickstu, despite being prohibited from taking part in management of the company as a result of his bankruptcy. Mayers withdrew from the hearing. Max Ansel, a partner at Judge Skies Frickstu, which acted for Al Hamouni in his bankruptcy, was allowed to continue representing the company at the hearing. The judge found that there were 3 serious and remitable breaches of the terms of the company's voluntary agreement with the creditors, and she said that the arrangement supervisor William Battery failed to comply with his obligations to present a winding-up petition for the company. Battery warned in his winding-up report earlier this month that the total claims for the company's creditors are expected to be significantly higher than originally anticipated. He said, although the protected environment status put strain on caused delay to the project, the company believed the creditors scheme would have allowed it to survive and provide exciting opportunities in the future. I mean, they could have worked around it as well. They could have around it as well. But yeah, it's a real shame, guys. It is a real shame. A Farage mouse would be disturbing. You guys are so funny. Condomore 356 says, I have a question for you. As someone that talks about real things can be heavy, how do you be honest while not worrying about bad optics? It's not really something I think about, if I'm honestly, Commodore. I don't really have an answer to that. My brain's a bit scrambled to answer that, if I'm honest. I try to be, my answer is I try to be honest as I possibly can with what I provide to people, and it's down to, and at the end of the day, it's down to people's choice whether they want to agree or disagree or believe what I put the information that I put in front of them with my thoughts behind it as well. It is like everything, it's a choice of you choose to what you believe or what not, and taking the information that's been provided to you or not. I think it's the answer I can give to that. But yes, any thoughts of whatsoever of any kind of UK version of Disneyland, it was pretty much dead and buried if you haven't already gotten it there, guys. But it's just a shame. But if I suppose the next question you guys are probably going to be asking, was it because of Brexit? I don't think it's because of Brexit. Would it have been the main reason? Maybe. Would it have been no. I think would it have played a part in it not happening because of Brexit? I don't know. Is the answer. I honestly don't know. Some people can say that. Excuse me. That's why a land tax would have been better if land is not getting useless as to Keir. Jarrell says, stating the obvious, kids here with their IDs travel via plane to Paris in excursions to Disneyland Paris. They can literally spend one night in Paris and come back in the morning. Well, yeah, that's true. That's the beauty of it. You go to Paris. That's what we used to do here in the UK. Most people, they go to the weekend, go for a trip to Paris or whatever, and then come back on Monday, back in the UK. Sorry, my stomach is playing up, guys. Got reflux. Apologies. Come back in England, back into London, back into work Monday the next day. So, sort of thing. That's what it is. The Trump effect is also adding up too. Jumping spiders are amazing. I have seen jumping spiders. I have actually, in certain Susan, I've actually seen them literally like jump, and it's like it is an amazing thing to see. Yeah, it is. Disneyland Paris has a 450 million market it could reach by foot car. They have buses from Lisbon to Paris there, trains half a day by car. Yeah, of course, they have the infrastructure. The transport infrastructure is there for them. And if you want to do this, that's what you got to have. You got to, get it off the ground, get the infrastructure built around it, and then it'll work, you could build an underground station, build a bus coach network and all that kind of stuff. There's jobs, prosperity, and opportunity, and all that kind of stuff. This would, like I said, this would have been a boost to the British economy if it had gone ahead, if it actually happened. The UK does not have enough market access, population investment to have something like that in Disneyland Paris. If people were upfront of their money, and they put the money in and they built it, people would come. Brexit or no Brexit, people would come for it. People would come for it. And it would pay itself back. And it would also boost the UK economy. It really would. It really, really would. If you cannot tell me that people would not come. If you had a Disneyland theme park in the UK, or in London, or specifically in England or wherever, you cannot tell me that people would not come. They would come. They would come. You know, people will always want new rides, new theme parks, and a new thing. I just think people will come for it. You know, there was this theme park in Belgium that I went to with my my partner. I can't remember what it was called. It was a very weird theme park, but it was still pretty cool, like the rides and everything as well. Now you're not being negative, Joe. You're just being honest, mate. That's all good. You don't have to you have to apologise, mate. It's fine. You know, like we agree, disagree, respectively on it. I'm really on the side of being glad that this isn't happening. Your indifference, Pagan. You think it wouldn't have been. You're thinking more about the environment aspect of it, the dangers to the environment, which is I think that if I correct me if I'm wrong on that, Pagan, I think that's where you're coming from, and I totally agree with that. You know, especially the species that could be at risk as a result of it being built. Totally understandable. Totally agree with that. I'm just thinking more about how it would have been. You know, I'm talking about it from an economic and now boost and a boost from that point of view. There, that's what I thought of it. Commodore on Twitch says, "I feel I have an omit of an opinion due to concerns about bad optics. I'm not being honest. That's fine. That's totally cool. That's totally cool. We have enough theme parks. Yeah, but they're not on the level, are they? They're just not on the level of what we have, and you have to go out of your way for some of them as well. I read about Aztecs theme park in France. I prefer to have Disneyland. Yeah, people. Yeah, you know, I remember I used to work in retail, and people were. I remember there was this one person. I won't say who she was, but I remember her telling me she went to for the first time she went to Disneyland in Florida, and she said it was the most amazing thing she'd ever done. And she's like, she's still a big kid in heart, you know, but to her it was just an amazing feeling. And just imagine having something like that here. You know, it really would be pretty awesome. But I'm going round in circles on the topic, to be fair, guys. So guys, just before I have one last funny video to see ourselves out. I hope you enjoy this one. This is it is a long one, but you guys have heard this one before. If you haven't, you're in for a treat here. It's you gotta have a bit of fun when it comes to the lads at Broken News, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one from them. The headline is from Larry and Paul's YouTube channel. Broken News. Journalist has meltdown while reading the news.
And welcome back to Broken News, where it's time to get to the nub of things. Our weekly catch-up with senior correspondent Smithers Nubb. Thank you for being with us, Smithers.
Good evening, Stephen.
And I suppose there's just one story on everybody's mind at the moment. It's been going on for some time now, and it seems unlikely that it's going anywhere.
No, indeed. And there does seem to be a complete lack of international will to address it. As many as 28 legally binding UN Security Council resolutions have been broken so far, yet the UN seems unable or unwilling to take action on what the UN itself has called Israel's continuing genocide.
Wait, Smithers. I was, sorry to interrupt, in fact, though, talking about Sir Keir Starmer receiving free tickets and then meeting Taylor Swift. It's the story that just won't die.
Is it? Yes, of course, Stephen, and many up in arms about the PM getting tickets to a music concert, apparently. People not stopping talking about that one. But no new details since the last time we reported it.
Perhaps then we should move on, Smithers, because, big news out of the Lake District recently.
Yes, Stephen. an eye-opening story, this one.
Yes.
The Lake District, of course, one of the, if not the most beautiful part of the country.
Yep.
Imagine this, if you will, a nice warm summer's day.
Oh,
You
lovely.
decide to go for a dip with your brother in the cool waters. And as you get in, bobbing about together, those crystal clear waters
Yes.
turn out to be nothing but human effluents.
No, what?
Because more than 140 million litres of sewage, it's been revealed, have been illegally pumped into Windermere over the course of 3 years. United Utilities failed to report any of it. One of the most beautiful lakes in the country being used as an open sewer.
Smithers, sorry, I was referring to Kate Middleton's brother James, sharing lovely memories of him and her going on holiday in the lakes when they were younger. She was very competitive, apparently.
Was she? Great. Was there any more to that story, or
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, to hear about the Princess of Wales's early life?
not particularly?
Well, perhaps then time for one more story, Smithers. And, well, in my lifetime, I never thought I would see a German rise to power in such a way.
Yes, and I'm glad that we are covering it here on Broken News. The AfD, or Alternative für Deutschland, are on the rise in Germany. Of all countries, for a populist far-right party to take hold.
Sorry, Smithers, I was talking about the New England manager.
Oh, fuck off! Sorry, do I get to report on any actual news? I was under the impression that I was a journalist, that you're a journalist, that we're all journalists. Yeah? And we report on stories that mean something to people, that affect the world. Not this confected arse gravy about Taylor sodding Swift.
Well, I think that...
It's only because morons like you keep perpetuating it that Keir Starmer can't seem to...
Shake it off.
Shut up! The world is descending into chaos. Economic, societal, environmental collapse, social decay, grotesque inequality, mass poverty. An industrial war machine that grinds ever on, funding both sides and making obscene amounts of money from fueling perpetual war and creating untold misery. Well, we have to watch TikToks of innocent people getting their limbs blown off or burning alive.
Keep it
Uncensored by social media giants who coin it in by destroying the mental well-being of us and our children. Meanwhile, the food industry pumps out low-cost, mass-produced, ultra-processed, chemically treated bullshit, destroying our health and making us rely on a pharmaceutical industry that doesn't care if we live or die, that then makes trillions from what will most likely end up being government-mandated obesity drugs.
Well, thank you.
Private train companies that can't run trains, private water companies that fill our rivers and seas with piss and shit, political leaders bought and paid for, continuing the status quo, and consumed by loyalty to profit, unable or unwilling to take the necessary action to hold society together as communities die off and the environment falls apart.
Well,
and governments can't find money for school lunches, but they'll bail out the sodding banks. And the ultra-rich dick around in space in cock rockets, while you and I can't get a sodding doctor's appointment.
Well,
More billionaires than ever before, controlling the media and making you blame the poor souls escaping the jaws of the military-industrial complex or obsessing over which bloody toilets we use, while your nana freezes to death in a one-bedroom flat.
I think
The whole thing is a system built to exploit people and the planet in the relentless pursuit of profit. And the other day, your top story was some prick allegedly fingering a bird on Strictly Come Fucking Dancing.
Fingering.
Reports confirmed that she is in fact a total bitch. What a lovely story. That's all from Broken News. You're up to date.
Happy New Year, everyone. It is true. It is real true. Yeah, and then he was brainwashed, as you can see at the end there. Yeah, great one. I think it was one of Larry and Paul's best ones because it was one of those. It was a bit of a Jonathan Pye feel to it, where you felt like the anger and the rage coming out of frustration of what we're all going through. And 2024 has been, I think it's fair to say, has been a really shit year. It has been a shit year. Some of the that we've had, and people have just been people are just tired of this year. There have been so many elections, there have been so many downs, and you know, Trump winning the election was one of the biggest downpours right near the as we come to the end of this year. It was a real blow, a real down blower. And my hope is that the channel grows next year, is that we have better prosperity, and that I really do hope some things, guys. So this is one of my first biggest hopes for the new year. I hope the war in Ukraine ends next year. That is my first hope. My first hope is that I hope the war in Ukraine ends, the bloodshed stops. You know, I personally want Russia to give back all its land, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I do want the violence to stop. I want the bloodshed to stop, and I want peace secured. How that comes about, I don't know, but that is my hope for next year. I generally have a good feeling about that. And if it means that Ukraine are with us still, even though they don't have the land that they rightfully belongs to them anymore, at least it is a step in the right direction, at least. So that is one good thing. My generally hope as well in the new year is that as we go into it, is that Syria does find its way and does not get tied down and finds itself into war again. I hope that happens as well. My also hope is that somehow, some way, the negotiations begin in the new year between the two oppositions in Sudan as well, that we can start having discussions about potential ceasefire of some sorts in Sudan. The start of something, anything for the people that are suffering in that country. My also hopes is that something is done with Haiti, a country that has continuously been ignored for a long time as well. That is something that I'm hoping that some kind of peace and security comes at some point there. I don't have a lot of hope for Haiti at the moment, but I hope. But I don't have much hope for it, but I do hope perhaps that changes as well. And also for what's happening in Myanmar, Burma as well. And of course, last but not least, the one conflict, and I'm sure you guys know that I've been talking about as well, the most heartbreaking, one of the most heartbreaking ones is what's happening inside Gaza. We want it to stop. We want the world to shout more about it, and they're not shouting enough about it by all the actions that Israel are doing. And my hope is that a ceasefire of some sorts, or well, I say ceasefire, but peace is secured at some way, shape, or form. I don't know how, but that is my hope, that these things will happen. Do I have much hope that all these things will happen next year? No, but those are my hopes for next year, guys. Just a reminder, so there is no Snowflake Corner tomorrow. There will be a Snowflake Watch on Wednesday, on New Year's Day. So if you want to join me on Wednesday, New Year's Day, for a live stream, you're more than welcome to come and join me then. I will be doing a Snowflake's Corner on Thursday, this Thursday coming. So if you guys want to join me for a Snowflake Corner live stream, which won't be doing Tuesday, but it'll be on Thursday, you're more than welcome to join me then. I may still do a Q&A live stream on Friday, maybe. I just didn't set up the goals for the goals for one today. I'll set up one on Wednesday. So if we achieve the goal, I'll do an additional live stream on Friday for you guys. We'll do that. But it's not a full blown week of content. But next week we'll be back to full force. I believe next week will also be Prime Minister's questions as well, the return of Prime Minister's questions. And you guys may have seen some of the thumbnails already that are coming out. So, and everything will be updated next year as well. Everything will be updated next year. So next year we'll have this is going to be the kind of the theme that will be going next year, guys. So this old stuff, this is the last time we'll see this background and whatnot, just shaking everything up for you guys. But I just want to, I know I didn't do a post today, but I just want to give you guys a couple of things to run down to remind you guys of. So for the new year, Snowflake Viewpoint is staying, Snowflake Corner, Snowflake Watch, and Prime Minister's questions. All four of these live streams will be staying in the time slots that they are all in, respectively. Snowflake conflict is a one that I may or may not do, on and off sort of thing. I haven't just, it was okay, but it's like it's just been there as an extra live stream, so it's not one that I will always keep to. The Q&A live streams are something I may do more and more in the future if I set up goals like super chats and whatnot for people to go towards. If I achieve it, I'll do a Q&A live stream. The thing is that I did a Q&A live stream, but not many people came out with comments, even though I left a post for questions. So there weren't many questions for it. So, however, also the Snowflake Mountaintop, as I'm calling it, because I'm not calling it Roundtable anymore, that is coming up on the 16th of January. Myself, One Angry Pagan, Lee Korn, and Power to the People, Graham Price will be joining us for that. I will be doing one in February, and already I'm looking at some people to line up for that one in February as well. I haven't approached people, but I'll be doing that next month as well. And as for the guests who I'll be having next month, I've already got an idea of who I want. We'll be doing. It won't be. I've got an idea of who I want. It might not be everybody's liking as well, shall we say as well. So it's one I definitely want to do as well. But I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you, Alistair Keir, for the 5 gifted memberships as well. Thank you both on YouTube. Sorry, my eyes are playing up with me here. On YouTube and Twitch. Thank you guys for all your support here in 2024 and what has been a roller coaster of a year. And next year is going to get even bigger, more roller coaster, because we're going to have the first full year of Sir Keir Starmer's Labour government in power. We're also going to have Trump becoming the president of the United States, which no doubt will have repercussions across the world, which will definitely have an impact, something that will be much discussed here. I'm hoping that one day in the future I'll have another chance to go on the Sunday roast. That's something I got to do as well. That was something I got an opportunity to do. I got an opportunity to do as well, which was big for me. Hopefully I can go back on there at some point in the future as well. But really appreciate all your support, guys. It wasn't just that it has been a poor year. I didn't hit the targets that I expected at the start of the year. My goal was to reach 2,000 subscribers and also reach 200 YouTube members, and both of them we did not achieve. So we'll see how next year goes, guys. But I think if I'm absolutely honest, I think if there's a target, a subscriber count for next year, I think 2,500 sounds more realistic. So I'm going to lower my target for next year. 2,500 is the goal we want to reach by the end of this end of 2025. That is the goal. So that's the mark we're going to set for next year. Let's see if we can reach 2,500 subscribers. I think that's a realistic target. And if we can keep a minimum of 50 members, let's see if we can keep it to 50 members at least. So that'll be a good thing as well. So again, like I said, if you guys got no plans on New Year's Eve, if you want to come and hang out in the Discord, link for that will be in the description. I'll be doing I'll be doing an after chat then, not tonight. I'll be doing it tomorrow then. But we'll wish you all a very happy New Year, and whatever your plans are in the new year, I hope they're positive. I hope they're strong. I hope look forward. If things didn't go well this year, focus on the new year. Make plans for yourself, really just move forward, guys. That's the best thing I can say. But thank you guys all so much for your support. You have all been absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And of course we will continue. We'll talk more about this in the future, guys. Also, a reminder that there will be I was on last Saturday's games nights, and there will be a games nights this Saturday as well. So do feel free to come and join us for that as well. Also, the Christmas tree will be gone will be gone as soon as well. As well will be this Christmas tree, but the gang will still be here. Ollie, Pingu, and Cash Dummy here. The orb will return come the next live stream as well, guys. It will return to its fullest. Ollie turns around. He would like to say a very happy new year to you guys all. May 2025 be a blessing for us all, guys. So before I go, just have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share us across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.